I guess that leads to the next question. I guess we've gone like today. You've got diamonds down in Copetown and Copton in New South Wales and things like that. And as I said recently, up to 2018, you were chasing diamonds in South Australia. In your web project, do you think there is still a Argyle or a son of Argyle somewhere, or sisters of Argyle, or
Ah, well,
nephews?
yes. Look, I would have thought the place where you might find something or potentially find something would be out at Webb, And I know that a lot of those pipes are sort of marginal in turn, but there are diamonds out there, and there are obviously targets out there, many targets. So there is something to be found out there. If you go down to Flinders Island, there are diamonds there, there are indicators there. No amount of searching can find out the source. There's obviously some clue that's being missed as to why the stuff is there. In the Northern Territory, again, you've got this problem, which faces a lot of parts of Australia. It's the regolith, the cover, poor drainage, makes it difficult. Loam sampling can work, even reconnaissance type white space stuff, which we've tried out in deserts and so forth. The microdiamonds hang around, and if you start getting them, then it usually means something. But lots of sampling, lots of interpretation, etc., to find out where they're mostly concentrated. Because any field that's got a significant diamond source in it will have a very significant cloud of microdiamonds floating around there. So
Going on from Ellendale and moving on, and then you said, the discovery of Argyle came from Smoke Creek and things like that. And what was, I've had one story where the guy said, I stuck a pan into this thing, flipped it over, and it was full of diamonds. Was that myth, or was that, because I think in the book it did mention something about they could see lots of diamonds in this little drainage area. What was your experience there?
well, I tell you that's never been my experience. Although if you're talking about Smoke Creek, that is certainly the case up just immediately near the pipe and on the pipe itself. Because there were diamonds, visible diamonds there, and even I think Grant Boxer speaks about one sticking out of anthills and stuff like that. Okay, and certainly when in the early days there, then wandering around up there, even I picked up a small diamond down there. So they were there, yeah, and I can imagine down in the gullies and creeks down there, what was called the jeweler's box, there was certainly a high concentration of diamonds down there.
So jewel box is in Smoke Creek, or the
Yeah,
actual?
it's the immediate part, just outside the pipe, okay, because it's up in the side of a hill there.
Yep.
And down, and there's a conglomerate ragged range, I think it's called, runs through there, and it backed up a lot of material in there. So it was the eluvial sort of shed coming off of the pipes, and it was just chock-a-block full of diamonds. I think from memory about 40 carats to the ton or something in the alluvial. So yes, you could pan there and find diamonds easily.
So when you were there at that time, did you guys realize how big this was? How big it was going to be in terms of Argyle?
No, I don't think so. It turns out there's a few pipes that have coalesced there.
Yeah.
It was very early days, and when I was there, which was just after we moved in there, not the discovery team as such who walked up the creek there and found it, but the other, because we were all working down in the Allendale and Cowangill area, we were brought up there the next year to do the work, but we weren't allowed actually onto the pipe, okay, because of some of the heritage issues, and we became focused on testing the alluvials down the creek.
Okay.
But none of the the bulk testing and so forth of the pipe hadn't been done, so nobody knew what the grade was. But there was certainly a lot of diamonds down the creek, that's for sure.
I guess in future, to have a pipe that size, you would realise that you would have an alluvial that
Hmm.
had that many diamonds, I
Yeah.
guess. That's the only indicator, I
Yes,
guess.
it is. Yeah.
Like if you walk past something like that, you will get excited that you may have something of an Argyle size. I mean, how big was Argyle compared to the rest? I know it's a lot. They talk about them being industrial diamonds a lot, mainly. But how big? It was one of the biggest in terms of carats. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, they produced around 800 odd thousand carats, I think. 800 million carats, was it? Yeah. Because they were doing about 30 to 40 million carats a year at one stage, weren't they? It was big. It was the biggest producer there for many, many years.
Do you think was that the last big diamond mine to be found?
Well,
Oh no,
there were the
one
Canadian
in
pipes
Canadian pipes.
after that, you know.
Yeah, I think that was about it, wasn't it? Just that Canadian one. That's
Yes, and I don't know whether there were any more, or most of the African ones, the big ones, had been found by then, you know, Jenang and Arapas and stuff like that. Yeah.
So when you guys were chasing Merlin, did you think that this could be the next Argyle, or did you think that this would be small?
No, well, we didn't think it was going to be the next Argyle, but we were just, but we had we weren't too sure how big the pipes might be when until we found them.
Till I found it.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah, but I remember you guys had Excalibur first, right? And
Yes, that's right. Yeah, well, it took us long enough to find that.
Yeah.
So after walking over it every day.
So was that the one after Argyle? Was that Ashton's discovery, or was that part of the JV discovery?
Which one?
The Merlin.
No. Well, the what was called the Ashton Exploration JV with CRA, or now Rio, was limited to the Kimberleys.
Okay.
And then all the parties, you know, like Rio and that, set off searching the rest of Australia, as did Ashton.
Yep.
So Ashton started in the across the border in the Northern Territory.
Yep.
Sampled across there. You know, came to stopped in the western part of Queensland, and eventually then discovered that Cohenjula area. And we didn't go to the Merlin area because it was through a JV that we went in there, and we were following up on results that CRA had reported because they had found the emu pipes,
Okay, that's
which
right.
which occur as two sort of
Twins.
amphitheatres in the Buclara sandstone there.
Yep.
And had nice mag anomalies, and they had discovered those and tested them and so forth, and found them to be a little bit low grade, and they were the northern tip of the Merlin field. Well, we later sort of named the Merlin field, and on the, as you know, you've been there, the Merlin's on a plateau, so it's poorly drained, and that's where all the Merlin pipes were hidden, I guess. They didn't react much really to airborne magnetics or anything, or even airborne EM for that matter.
Because, if I'm not mistaken, Excalibur didn't have a cover, or very shallow, but the rest...
Well, the pipes there have this unusual characteristic of, what, for want of a better term, have infill sediments in them, but it's not only just sort of infill sediments, actually Cretaceous-aged sediments sitting in the throat of the kimberlite, or in the throat of the pipe, a bit like a cork.
Yep.
And that's exactly how it sort of got in there. It subsided from the overlying sediments down, and as the kimberlite was subject to solution weathering, the weight of the overlying sediments just slowly forced its way down into the pipe, and which meant that if you had shallow drill holes, which we put in many, you didn't run into kimberlite, you know. So what we found there were a lot of microdiamonds around, there were a lot of indicator minerals, and we could never find out where they were coming from. But fortunately, Excalibur was sitting just on the edge of that scarp, and it presented as a bit of a circular feature. And that still didn't help us find it really, as that it was sitting on a fracture about 800 metres long, and that had been cut by drainages and by following up some indicator minerals, and that it showed that this fracture, which wasn't very wide, the fracture was about a metre wide, and it had indicator minerals and microdiamonds in it, but you could never see anything in it. But when you walked along it actually ran into the Excalibur circular feature, and we ultimately drilled it twice. In fact, the first time we didn't drill deep enough, but then we drilled it, and it popped into kimberlite at about 26 metres.
The rest of it, if it was an EM story, right?
EM34, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's what picked it up. So once we had found Excalibur, right, we tried every geophysical technique that we knew to see what worked, that could see it. And it was EM34 that worked the best and was the easiest to apply. And so immediately to the north of that pipe was sandy flat, and there was just indicator minerals everywhere, and we dug and drilled and couldn't find anything. Did the EM34 over it, and out popped all these little circular anomalies, and we drilled them, and each one of them was a kimberlite, and that was Palomite, Sacramore, now Pelsac, Lawnful, and all these pipes. So
do you think that could have been the case for Argyle? Did Argyle light up at all after discovery, I guess?
No, look, the Argyle had a very poor mag signature and whatever, and I don't think it had I don't think it had an EM signature as well. Right. So that was tried there. I remember we did some helimag over it, whatever. It just didn't really show up because it's so high up, and it doesn't have that deep clay weathering effect. It's and it's been eroded out a bit as well. All that, if it was there, it's gone.
So no geophysics light up?
I don't think it did. I don't think it had.
And Allendale's the same?
No, they all light up at Allendale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's different, but they're a younger pipe there. You need that, but you do need that deep weathering. You need the clay for the EM to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you need the magnetite in them as well to get the mag signatures. But those pipes at Merlin are magnetic or whatever, but you just can't. They still don't really show up much in the mag for some reason.